Hello, Gonzaga basketball fans. Welcome back to House of Krause. I'm Tuck Clary here with Josh Linke, freshly settled into his new recording space, and we've got a good one for you today. Summer League's wrapped up, so we brought in somebody who's been in Vegas for it and knows these players better than almost anybody. Theo Lawson is here with us. If you somehow aren't familiar with Theo, I don't know how that's even possible considering how much coverage he does. He covers Gonzaga for the Spokesman-Review. He's going to help us make sense of the players and their paths down in Vegas, and perhaps maybe we'll discuss the program's path if there is any clarity there. Before we dive in, a couple things. If you haven't already, go check out House of Krause, the newsletter on Substack. I just put out a piece breaking down Donovan Dent's potential fit with the Zags from a numbers and play style perspective. Also, if you're not already a paying subscriber, that's how you keep this whole operation running. And it gets you into the Discord, which is honestly becoming, my favorite part about doing this. That space is all Zag fans, no noise, talking hoops. There's also a ton of different stuff going on over there worth checking out, such as Tristan Freeman learning new things every day. And last thing, genuinely help us. This would help us more than you think. If you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple, hit subscribe, leave a rating. And if you're watching on YouTube, like the video and subscribe there too. Doesn't cost anything, takes 5 seconds. And it's a number one way for new people to find our show. All right, enough from me on that. Theo, let me start out with what everyone wants to know first and foremost. This dates back to our March conversation. How was Vegas? Where'd you eat? Were you able to get away from basketball? Did you see this? Get into the sphere? What went down in Vegas for you?
Let's see. I don't think I had too many new restaurants on the list. I did try a few new places. My parents actually were able to come by one day. They were down in Phoenix actually visiting my brother and my niece, and then they came kind of swung through Vegas, and I kind of took an off day actually, and ate at a really good Italian place down in the Arts District. That's a pretty underrated little area of Vegas that if you ever get sick of the Strip, just go down to the Arts District, and there's a bunch of cool restaurants and bars, and it's more low key than what you'd get on the Strip. So. Aside from that, we typically do the Yard House every night after the games. It's a good, consistent place to go to. So I can't tell you how many Yard House receipts I have to submit to our accounting department here in the next couple of days. They probably assume that I have an issue, which I might. But yeah, it's a good time. I always say that I end up in Vegas probably 2 or 3 days longer than I need to, but it's always good to watch the former Zags down there, and then this year I got a chance to watch a future Zag too with Dooney Johnson. So it's always productive, but I'm always pretty happy to be back in Spokane.
Yeah, are you considering getting an apartment down there, considering how often you're in Vegas and how often you'll be in Vegas this upcoming season?
Yeah, I'm thinking about the trips. I don't know if we'll have a Pac-12 media day because they're not doing a Pac-12 football media day. So I'm kind of hoping that they change that and have a basketball one. But I mean, I'll be back there for the season opener, and then obviously the Players era for I think 5 days this year, possibly longer if they make that championship game. So that's at least 2 more trips, and then back there to the MGM Grand Garden Arena for the Pac-12 tournament. So.
We've got 5 former Zags that were in Vegas for Summer League, and they all played varying capacities. What did you make of this iteration of the Gonzaga Summer League experience, considering how many times you've done it?
Yeah, I think I mainly was following Graham because he played in every game for Golden State, including the California Classic the week before, and obviously they went on to win the championship. I wasn't down there for that, but Ryan Nembhard I think just played in the first 2 games, got sick, and then got traded obviously, so he only played in a couple of games for Dallas, and then I kind of was able to watch Jalen Worley a little bit. He didn't really play a whole lot for Indiana. I was on a Exhibit 10 or Summer League invite. And then Worley and Grant-Foster didn't play a whole lot either. Am I missing one guy? Oh, Anton Watson, sorry. Anton, got to follow Anton a little bit. He played pretty well for the Lakers, and then ran into Graham in the semifinals and lost. But I would say I watched Anton and Graham mostly, Ryan the first couple of games, and then tried to get in and watch the other guys, but again, it's just it's kind of hard to anticipate minutes for guys who aren't on a two-way on a real contract and kind of just trying to make their way onto the roster.
Yeah, with Graham, he averaged 10.5 points, 8 rebounds throughout Golden State's run. What did you make of his summer league, and what did folks you talked to have to say about Graham's production?
Yeah, I think they love Graham. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if they offered him one of the 2-way deals. I don't know what their plans are for those, but this is kind of an organization that needs maybe kind of a younger project big man. So a 2-way deal would make a lot of sense for him. He was obviously on the Exhibit 10 contract, but going down there, you would have thought was a second round draft pick just based on how much they played him. He started every game, how much they used him. He was kind of a leader out there. I mean, he was pretty vocal. He was probably the loudest voice on the court, maybe aside from Jax Lindenberg, and calling out different plays, kind of leading from the bench, just kind of doing a lot of the stuff that we're used to seeing Graham doing at Gonzaga, but obviously playing a level up and doing it with the Warriors was kind of unique to see. So they all loved him down there. I talked to their coach, who actually had a chance to see Graham play live 2 years ago at St. Mary's. Game that Gonzaga lost, but I think Graham had like 24 points and I think had 41% of their scoring in that game. So there's a lot of familiarity between Graham and between Gonzaga and the Warriors, obviously with Steve Kerr and Mark Few, and then actually I think some people know this, but Mike Dunleavy played high school basketball with Brian Michelson at Jesuit in Portland. So a lot of kind of different, unique connections between the two organizations, and I think it's a good fit for Graham if he can kind of at least latch on. And I'd be shocked if he didn't at least get a G League opportunity with the team in Santa Cruz.
Yeah. Ryan Nembhard looked like he kind of earned the sophomore on ice treatment that league guys get after a game or two sometimes. It could also just been due to the facilitating of the trade that sent him to the Hawks recently. Do you have any instant thoughts on Nembhard going to Atlanta? And did you get any reactions from anyone down in Vegas, in the aftermath of that trade?
Yeah, I think that went down after I'd already come back to Spokane. So he was still with the Mavericks when I was down there, obviously, and played the 2 games. I thought maybe he would play a third and then kind of sit out the remainder. I think that was the case last year. I think he played the first 3 and then sat out 2. So he definitely earned that kind of opportunity to sit out and not have to play the whole summer league. He had also just come from playing with Team Canada with his brother Andrew, and obviously Ryan didn't play a lot in those games, but he had been kind of practicing with the Canadian team. So I think Dallas had that in mind too, that they didn't want to overuse him down there. And then of course I'm not sure if at that point that they were already considering trading him, but kind of an unfortunate situation I think because I think Dallas really valued him last year, and I think would have drafted him with the second round pick if they had one. And so I think he went to a franchise that really wanted him. Him and Cooper Flagg seemed to have really good chemistry last year at Summer League, and I think they had developed a pretty good relationship off the court too. So, obviously with all the turnover in Dallas, it's never a surprise when something like this happens. But obviously goes to an Atlanta situation where he's going to have to kind of earn his minutes, and it's not going to be automatic that he's playing every night off the bench.
Yeah, don't love the situation of a rookie point guard coming in on top of CJ McCollum on top of you. This going to be treacherous waters.
Yeah, I also think it's kind of interesting just the pairing with him and Corey, 2 Zags on that roster. Like, obviously, they didn't play together at Gonzaga, but I'm sure they'll have stories to share, things to talk about. Certainly he'll be able to glean some useful information from Corey on his time during the league as well.
Low key, Atlanta Hawks. This brings back an old youthful memory. I went to like Dan Tickow's basketball camps when I was like in middle school or elementary school, and when he was on the Hawks. And man, when he got that Hawks deal, he had this like classic Hummer painted out with the Atlanta Hawks colorways. That was by far, I just love that every NBA player did that with their cars. Just put the colorway of the current team on it.
The opposite of the humble flex. Anton Summer got described as quiet and useful. You got a quote from one of the Lakers first rounders, Cameron Carr, where he basically said that people need to put some respect on his game because of his ability to make winning plays. It seems that that's a trait that would be high, relative high demand in the league. Do you believe that a two-way contract is in reach for Anton? What's your read kind of on that situation?
Yeah, I think it's definitely in reach. I don't know. I don't know if it's going to come from the Lakers. I think maybe they've already given out all three of their two-way deals. I'm not positive on that, but I think I might have seen that somewhere on Twitter. But he definitely fits the mold of someone who you can see playing on a two-way. Just his versatility is so valuable. I covered their first 3 or 4 games down there in Vegas, and the first game I think was against. I think it was against Oklahoma City, and he was pretty much the primary defender on Adai Mara, and Adai Mara was 0 for 4 from the field and had 3 points, and was really impacted by what Anton was doing, just kind of pushing him off the block, using his physicality, and then the next game was against Dallas, and he was guarding Morris Johnson and did a really good job there. I was thinking, man, it would have been nice to have Anton back.
Yeah. That's what last season was missing, was Anton.
Yeah. Probably would have won that game by 40 instead of lost it by 40.
Hey, he's as old as Yaxel Lendenberg is, so it's fine.
Yeah, but and then you saw another game. He's kind of like their primary point guard in a different game, taking the ball off the floor and making decisions. So, just more of what we saw probably at Gonzaga, and just versatile. His 3-point shot has come such a long way from his first couple of years in Spokane. So. Hopefully there's someone out there willing to offer him a two-way, and he's going to kind of earn those minutes, and he's going to bring the defense and the versatility. And the last game in Vegas wasn't so good for him. I think he was maybe something like 0 for 7 from the field and didn't really score much against the Warriors. But I think certainly played well enough to earn a two-way somewhere if there's a franchise that has one open for him.
Yeah, speaking of kind of his defensive abilities and ability to guard big men, while he was in Spokane prior to the summer league, he talked to you a little bit about his chance to guard Masamba Diop, described him kind of as a big guy, that he's got a nice game, and that he's going to be a problem. Did he have any other thoughts on Diop or this year's roster that he might have added or contextualized that with?
I think pretty much the one that I put out there was kind of what I got from Anton. Obviously, he comes back here every offseason. This is where he's from, so he practices with the team pretty often, from what I gather, and spends time working out at Dan Dickhouse facility and practicing at the warehouse and at GU. So I think I kind of floated it out there that guarding Diop must be kind of like guarding Mara as far as what you have to do, and he's like, I think Diop's going to be even better than Mara is. So it gives you just a little bit of insight into what he saw practicing against the Zags and playing against them, and kind of confirms maybe what we all think Diop can be this season for GU.
Okay, Theo, so we got a little bit about revenge from Anton on the Michigan guys. I'm not going to make you recklessly speculate as the chief J School member of this episode. I'm not going to do that to you. But can you tell us anything about what Graham Ike was barking at Jack Kyle?
Yeah, so I think this was maybe the fourth quarter of the Golden State Knicks game, kind of toward the end of my stay down there, and I think they had forced the Knicks into a backcourt violation. Kyle was kind of operating mostly as like the point guard for the Knicks during summer league. He's a combo guard, but I think he was mostly playing point for him. And Graham is emotional and is barking after the turnover. And I hope people didn't take it too out of context. I don't think he was barking directly at Jack, but he was kind of barking in that direction. I didn't take it as like, oh, this is the guy that spurned my Zags and the NBA, but it was still just kind of a moment that here's this former Zag, and he is barking in the direction of Jack Kyle, and I thought it was pretty funny, and I posted that. So I had a chance to watch a few of Jack's games. I was also following some former WSU players, so I watched a game between the Pistons and Knicks. Isaac Jones was a former Coug, so I kind of covered a few of those games, and so it was interesting to see him playing. I'd never seen him play in person. I had watched maybe one of his games with Alba Berlin against Unicaja last year that I think a bunch of you guys were watching too. So yeah, interesting to see him in person and kind of see how his skills translate or don't translate in maybe other places.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting path, and the the path was not made easier by the decision, it seems. So, yeah, I guess with Summer League, what was the most interesting thing or moment that you saw in Summer League?
Thing that I saw, let's see, I got to watch a few Chicago Bulls games, so I think Caleb Wilson was kind of came out of Summer League as kind of the highlight machine. I think I saw him dunk like 3 times in one quarter, and just you can just kind of see he has the aura, and if he can shoot the ball as well as he did at Summer League, I think it's going to be a real problem for the rest of the league for a long time. Didn't have a chance to really watch the top 2 picks, Devonsa and Peterson, much, but yeah, as far as kind of individual guys outside of the guys that I was following, Caleb Wilson was kind of the guy that stood out, and I loved watching the Lakers. They had this guard, John Elmore. You guys might have seen clips of him on Twitter. Just kind of this shorter, bald guy that looked like he should have been playing on my Hoop Fest team, but it was kind of just making threes and
best selling in Summer League by far.
Yeah, the bald head celebration. So it's kind of fun just to go, and every year there's a couple guys like that college basketball fans probably knew like 10 years ago, but they just lost track of, and maybe they've been buried overseas or playing in the G League, and they come back and they just have the level of experience to be able to kind of thrive in that Summer League situation where there's not a lot of I always just kind of described it as chaos. There's not a lot of set plays. I mean, these teams aren't really practicing together, so the quality of actual basketball isn't great, but it's kind of fun to see a guy like that emerge. And then Robbie Avila too is pretty fun to watch. All the fans were chanting for him in the fourth quarter of every game that they were playing to bring him off the bench, and so it was kind of fun to see the cult following he had down there.
Got to see Kareem Abdul-Jabbar when you can. So, of guys that we didn't get to see a lot of, you mentioned earlier Worley and Tyon. Didn't really play a bunch. Jalen Worley with the Pacers, Tom Grant-Foster with the Spurs. They both got pretty limited run. I think Tom played all of like 10 minutes over 3 games. Tom also basically didn't get cleared to even participate until really late in the process in terms of like working out for NBA teams and stuff like that. Was it kind of a foregone conclusion to them that they would just be kind of playing like spot minutes? Did they speak to sort of like what their path is moving forward as pros?
Yeah, so I didn't actually get a chance to talk with Tyon down there. Blame the Spurs maybe for that. Their people didn't get back to me. But I did get a chance to talk with Jalen, and it was pretty interesting. He had a few Exhibit 10 offers from other teams, and still chose the Pacers on kind of just a Summer League only invite. He just felt really good about his workout with them, kind of about the organization as a whole, just how they operate, how they run, and I think he just felt better about his chances of sticking on with them after Summer League than with some of the teams that were offering him Exhibit 10 deals, which kind of seem maybe a little bit more permanent than just a Summer League invite. So I thought that was interesting, but yeah, unfortunately, he just didn't get as much run during Summer League, and didn't play extremely well in kind of the spot minutes that he got. So we'll have to just kind of wait and see if he's someone that they like enough to just kind of give him a spot on their G League team next year, and then see how that materializes, or if he's going to have to find another opportunity in the NBA or overseas. But he had a bunch of I think he had 8 or 9 pre-draft workouts. So I think there's a bunch of teams that like him, and we've all seen what he can do. So pretty versatile, great defender, and so I think there's definitely going to be a spot for him in the G League at the very least somewhere next year. And with Tyon kind of unclear what his path is going to be, and he's someone who also has the talent obviously to play in the G League, but it's kind of just about if he gets the opportunity or not.
It was really interesting just kind of hearing that perspective from Worley, that he chose to turn down some of those X10 deals for a chance to play with an organization that he felt mirrored some of those aspects that Gonzaga offers. It's always interesting to see former Gonzaga players and just kind of their perspective on choosing a winning organization or a winning culture over money or maybe some of the same opportunities elsewhere. Maybe pivoting a little bit from the summer league talk down to the EYBL side of things. You got a chance to watch Dooney Johnson play, a little bit down in Vegas, and he made first team EYBL, averaging almost 15 points a game, 4.4 rebounds per game, 3 assists per game. What were some of your thoughts on just being able to watch him in person, and then also like what you think about his feel for the game today, and what his fit with the program might be in the future?
Yeah, well, first off, that was my first ever AAU tournament that I've ever been to, so that was kind of overwhelming at first. You walk into the convention center, there's like 20 courts set up, and just like every coach you can imagine, and I had a chance to catch up with some of the coaches that I've gotten to know the last few years. So that was pretty unique, just being there. And I heard from a few people down there that the setup was kind of different than what they're used to at Peach Jam and some of the other big EYBL tournaments. But yeah, I think Dooney is every bit every part the top 25, top 30 player that he's been kind of ranked. Just starting with his frame, I mean, he's every bit of 6'5", 6'6", and kind of built out in a good way. Not like too thick or anything, but just definitely not skinny either. So has a great strong frame. Really kind of like an attack-minded point guard. From what I saw, he's really looking to get to the hoop a lot. Really aggressive. Sometimes for better or worse, but is definitely willing to take chances. And I think I asked a few of his teammates and him as well if he kind of sees himself as more of a score first point guard or kind of a pass first point guard, and they said he's kind of 50-50. But from what I saw, I think he's definitely looking to kind of get downhill more and score. Good passer, maybe not quite at the level that you want a Gonzaga point guard to be. So I'm very curious to see kind of what the fit looks like when he gets here. I think he would need time to develop as a facilitator, as a point guard, if he wants to play that position at Gonzaga, where they obviously ask their point guards to do a lot, and you have to make really smart decisions. And I think that was maybe the one thing that I noticed with Dooney, is that he's taken maybe a few too many risks with the passes and being a little bit too over aggressive with some of his passes. And it's EYBL. They're not running a lot of pick and roll stuff. It's kind of just again, like some really kind of chaos in a lot of ways, shorter game. So, but yeah, still just a very, he's elite obviously, and kind of borderline 5-star guy. And I think he really has the body to be able to defend really well. And he told me that was kind of one of the things he's worked on, is just trying to challenge himself and take on the top scorer on the other team, or kind of the secondary scorer, and take that assignment every game. So they won all 4 games. They played down in Vegas. They played a really good team, Anthony Black's program, AB Elite, and Beckham Black, and I think that was the second or third game. Won that game, and kind of a thriller. So obviously a winning player, has won at the high school level, and definitely talked about wanting to get back and do that next year with Milwaukee Juno. And actually, the other interesting thing that I heard from both his dad and Dooney, his dad, Tori, is the Milwaukee Juno coach, is that he actually played through like a fractured foot toward the end of the state tournament. And so he was playing injured, and wasn't willing to sit out, and obviously wanted to win the state title. And so he was still kind of in the process of recovering that foot early on in EYBL play. So kind of shows you the type of attitude he has, the type of player he is, and wanting to be on the floor.
No, that's insane that he the level of play that he was able to achieve on that foot in the EYBL post that injury. Obviously, months after the high school situation, but you mentioned his ability to get to the hoop, his athleticism. In your knowledge, during the time that you've covered the program, has Gonzaga ever had a guard with the ability to get to the hoop quite like Dooney Johnson?
Um, I guess I technically wasn't covering them when Jalen Suggs was there, but I would say he's probably the closest comparison. Um, Interestingly enough, I had a chance to talk with Jalen because he was there watching the game. So I've got a feature coming out hopefully in the next few weeks about Dooney, and I just got Jalen's input because they go way back. Jalen played for his dad. His dad's AAU team in like fifth grade, so it was kind of cool to get his perspective on how Dooney might fit in the program and whatnot. But I don't think they've had a guard like that, and I really think that there are just a lot of comparisons with Suggs, and also maybe with how Gonzaga is planning to use Dooney, because I don't know right now if I see Dooney as kind of like the facilitator, the pass first guy that we've seen Gonzaga have success with over the years, whether it's the Nembhard brothers or Nigel Williams, Goss, anyone kind of in that mold. So I could really see him being kind of a secondary ball handler, playing the two at Gonzaga if they're able to get starting point guard next year. So as far as a fit, that's kind of how I see him. But yeah, I can't think of anyone off the top of my head that compares to him as far as getting downhill and with that big body and being willing to attack.
Speaking of comparisons to other players, I know that there's no comparison for this. Did he talk any shit while you were watching him play, Theo?
No, he was pretty mild mannered, I would say. He's kind of quiet on the court. We have a photographer that Tyler Tomlin, who always comes down and shoots summer league too. So he came over and shot the EYBL games, and he kind of like pointed out to me that like his on court demeanor is kind of like doesn't show a lot of emotion, honestly, which I thought was interesting. So, but there was certainly one game where I think they were trailing by like 12 to 15 points maybe, and made this big fourth quarter comeback. I think it was their last game, and he definitely kind of ramped up the aggression and kind of the his attitude on the court, I would say. And I think there's some of that there, but I don't think he's someone who's going to talk a ton of trash all the time and get in people's faces. From at least what I saw down there.
Wow, the development is already starting. That's impressive. Because junior year Dooney, I don't think I saw a single one of those highlight clips where it wasn't Dooney dunking and then standing over the guy and talking to him. But hey, so you mentioned Dooney talked about his like two-way development and wanting to like take on tougher defensive assignments. Did he mention any other goals or objectives that he has for his final year before heading to Gonzaga?
I think mainly that. I think he wants to kind of refine his 3-point shot a little bit more. I think he's a very good 3-point shooter right now, and I think shot it pretty well down in Vegas and kind of throughout the EYBL circuit. So that's definitely something that, I mean, if he's matched up against smaller defenders, which I imagine he will be, being kind of a 6'5" point guard or off guard, being able to stretch the floor and do that, I think is going to be pretty big. But as far as what I might want to see from him is just kind of developing as a passer and making the cleaner play more often and not trying to kind of squeeze passes into tight holes. And I think a lot of his turnovers came from kind of playing that way, which again, it's the EYBL circuit. You can kind of get away with that a little bit more. They had the best team there from what I could see. So, they weren't in a lot of really, really tight games for the most part. And I was able to speak with his coach too, Chris Hero, who is Tyler Hero's dad, coaches that AAU team. Also, interesting time to be down in Vegas covering Tyler Hero's AAU program. Side note.
Yeah, did Dooney stand up to Bam? Did Dooney say, "Hey, not on my watch"?
I will say that I went up to try to interview his coach Chris after the third game, and that happened to be the same day that the incident with Bam happened, and he said, "Hey, I've got something going on right now. I can't talk." I'm like, "Okay." I think I know what you have going on, but I wasn't sure I was going to be there the next day, so I was hoping to talk to him, and he was nice enough to chat with me after their fourth game down there. But just again, didn't ask any of them about that stuff, but yeah, interesting nonetheless. So anyway, I'll have a story hopefully in the next few weeks, just with reactions from Dooney, from his dad. From a few of his teammates, from Jalen Suggs. So, yeah.
Yeah. The staff had a pretty solid presence at EYBL in Vegas. We saw Snacks, B-Mike. Any new names that we should be aware of that they might have been watching outside of Dooney at that tournament?
Yeah, I mean, as far as I know, they're. I mean, I was kind of just there for Dooney's games, and then usually I was. I mean, I had to leave early to catch some of the summer league games, so I was hopping back and forth. But yeah, the first day, I think Snacks was there watching the game, and then I think the next 3 days, B Mike was down there, and then he was kind of doing the same thing, going back and forth and watching some summer league, and that seemed to be a pretty common thing among a lot of the coaching staffs that were down there, and I think there's a lot of momentum to get that EYBL event back in Vegas next year, because I think from what I heard, it had been a long time since they've had that during the same kind of week as summer league. So yeah, I'm not sure about other prospects down there. Yeah, I can't speak to that too much. Probably not the right person to ask, but yeah, definitely we're at all of Dooney's games.
We also saw pictures of the alumni dinner that Gonzaga does every year, and this is a perfect opportunity. I haven't gotten to address it yet on the podcast, but don't think I'm not noticing you, Arizona. You're doing alumni photo dinners now. You're Ohio State. Michael Redd is saying that there needs to be alumni photos like Arizona does. We know who stole the recipe. It's obvious. I can't believe it. But anyways, we've seen few in the coaching staff at these throughout the years, especially when they had a bunch of guys in summer league. It looked pretty sparse staff wise. I'm guessing that, I don't know, there may be something that they're busy dealing with right now and trying to figure out. I don't know. Do you have I know that they're a tight-lipped group, but do you have any idea about what the trajectory or timeline they're working with in terms of how far or close they are to trying to figure things out so you can have some semblance of a vacation?
Yeah, I mean, the sooner the better would be nice, but that's not up to me, and it might be up to some lawsuits actually. So
Theo,
we'll see.
I am sympathetic to you, but also at the same time, I am asking about when are you going to get vacation after you come back from Las Vegas? I feel bad, but I don't feel that bad.
Yeah. No, I don't feel bad. I've got it pretty good. I'm lucky enough to get to go down to Vegas every year and travel with the team, and I'm actually going to be covering the Hall of Fame ceremony in Massachusetts a few weeks from now. So I get some pretty cool opportunities. But yeah, I mean, I think as of right now, there's 8 players signed officially. I think 7 are on campus right now, and I think 6 have been full participants in off-season workouts. I don't think Braden Huff was partaking in a lot of the 5-on-5 stuff early on. He might have been a full participant by the time they kind of ended their first summer session. I'm not positive on that, but certainly need to add some players. I think there's a chance that they're going to sign 5 to 6 more guys in the next month, because that would bring them up to 13 to 14 players, and obviously 2 of them are committed. Last I heard with Izan Almansa a few weeks ago is that they were still in the process of getting things sorted out and didn't feel 100% great about that at the time. I don't think there's a major concern that he won't be on the roster, but it's still just a long process with getting some of these guys eligible. And I think the NCAA is really backloaded with all these eligibility cases. And speaking, I did an interview with David Riley a few weeks ago, the WC coach, for Lindy's Magazine story, and they're waiting on another international guy and kind of perturbed he's not eligible yet. And so I think a lot of programs in the country, LSU being one of those, are dealing with the same issues and waiting for guys to be cleared. So ideally, both of those guys get cleared sooner than later, and then you can kind of focus on filling out the last 2 to 3 spots. And obviously, I imagine those will probably be dedicated to guards. And I know you guys have talked about a few of the ones that they're looking at. So waiting on some lawsuits, waiting on some other things to shake out, and hopefully by the time I'm scheduled to go to Hawaii in late August, they have more or less a roster finalized, and if not, 1 or 2 players away from getting there.
You were cooking earlier about Exhibit 10 contracts and other NBA jargon. What's been harder, the NBA jargon, learning about like how many Exhibit 10s or two-way contracts teams can have, or what a TRO is and injunctions and all this other stuff that's going on in the 5-and-5?
I definitely didn't think I'd be 2 years in a row having to like deal with eligibility lawsuits, and I felt like I learned a lot last year with Tyon's case, and way more than I ever thought I would need to know. And I still don't feel like I have any grasp of the legal system. It was helpful listening to your guys' podcast a couple weeks ago, or a week ago maybe, and so I kind of leave a lot of that stuff to people who are well versed in it. But yeah, so we'll see what happens in the next few weeks, and I think some things will shake out pretty soon. But definitely more comfortable talking about a two-way deal than a injunction or a TRO or anything else involving the legal system.
Speaking of legal system, this somehow seems less predictable than what felt like an incredibly unpredictable offseason last year with Tyon's eligibility up to the final days. Where does this offseason stand in terms of storylines for you with like so much stuff being unknown? Just you do so many features pieces leading into the season. Like where's your head at during all this vagueness?
Yeah, I think this has to be the busiest offseason as far as from a roster building standpoint. I mean, I think a year ago, at this point, obviously the entire team was finalized with the exception of one player waiting on an injunction. So it's pretty rare when you get into the month of June and you don't have your roster settled. And so I just think starting back with the Jack Kyle news, followed by the Mario news, guy named Skylar Wicks was a Zag for 10 minutes maybe. And
he
then,
still could be, as far as we know. It's not Schrodinger's cat. It's Skylar Wicks on the roster.
Yeah. You never know, right? So obviously, an assistant coach leaving now, so it's just kind of adding up. And I think I always tell people. Everyone always asks me like, "Oh, what do you think about the roster?" And I kind of remind them like, when have you not felt pretty good about a Gonzaga roster going into a season? There's different levels, obviously. Some years the expectation is a national title, some years it's a Sweet 16. But every year, I think, right, before the first game, you feel pretty good about the team, and I think they'll get there this year too, with some of the things that are going to shake out here in the next few weeks. But it's definitely probably taken a lot more patience on the staff's part, and a little bit more effort, and kind of turning over different stones that you didn't think you'd have to back in May. So yeah, definitely. The craziest offseason I can remember. I've only covered the team for 5 years now, but you guys can probably speak to it too. That's just way more uncertainty than I think the staff would ever like to deal with.
Yeah, I gotta throw out that you had a recent piece on the Spokesman about kind of the founding of the Summers League and the connections to the Inland Northwest and all that. And it was a fantastically written piece. The work you've been doing at Spokesman has been just premium for the last couple of years here. And I really hope that some of our listeners can take a chance to get out and subscribe to the Spokesman to support your work, as well as Jim and some of the other folks that keep this program reported on.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, it's that was a fun piece to write. And I think I'm sitting on a few other things I have in the works right now, and trying to balance when to put those out, and knowing that there's going to be a whole bunch of news stories coming out that I have to handle too. And so, I've got a Q&A with the Pac-12 commissioner, Teresa Gold, that I'll have in the next week or two. And then I mentioned the feature on Dooney. And so, and then a lot of roster stuff, hopefully in the next few weeks.
Theo Lawson, thank you so much for hopping on to do a Summer League recap. You can find Theo on Twitter, X, the Everything app, whatever you want to call it these days, at Theo Lawson _SR. Support printed media, support newspapers so that we can have these feature stories, because without Theo, I don't think a lot of these feature stories get done with the way that things work in Spokane. So yeah, Theo, thank you so much. I really appreciate the time.
Yeah, thanks guys. Anytime.
Oh, also, thank you so much for setting the record straight on the scoops gate that is Jorge Sanz. It was a beautiful moment. That's somebody that lives to an ethical standard, Theo, and I can't thank you enough.
Yeah, no, I mean, credit where it's due, and I've been on the wrong end of that situation more than my fair share of times the last 9-10 years doing this. So yeah, of course.
Adam Zagoria doesn't want to credit a candle emoji. What's going on, man?
Crazy times we're living in.
All right, everybody. We'll be back with another episode soon. Thanks for listening.